Hello everyone, it's Christine here and I am back with another idea for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery for the month of June, where we've got the prompt of a fabric slow stitch vessel, container or bowl. So this is a little bowl idea that I've been wanting to try for a while, so perfect prompt. I even had this lovely May Gibbs fabric, Snuggle Pot and Cuddle Pie, so very famous Australian story that many of us grew up having read to us when we were children. And so yeah, they're little gumnut babies that live in eucalyptus trees, which is native to Australia. And this is a little scene with yeah, little bees flying around. It looks like they're a little bit afraid of the bees possibly, but they're having good little conversations and little nursing little gumnut babies. And I just love how they've got their little caps. Funnily enough, just yesterday I picked a piece of eucalypt which has these same little lovely blossoms on it, which are very much the blossoms that they've got for their little hats. So yeah, nice to have that sitting in the craft room while I'm stitching my gumnut babies. So that's the fabric I'm using. I've also got a pinky one which I might make a larger format one bowl from, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think this is very sweet as well, and it could be great as we come into the new, the next prompt for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, or the next project, which is going to be a nature journal. Not that you'd actually find Snuggle Pot and Cuddle Pie gumnut babies in the actual bush, but nice to imagine that they're there. So I've just been working over on this side, so I'll keep that over there. So it's going to be a bowl made from pentagons. So pentagons are this shape. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So they look like a sort of a house with the walls sloping out and a roof on them. And I'm using a 1-inch pentagon. So it's 1 inch measured along that side. I've used my Epiflex, picking up a bit of thread, my Epiflex template, but really you just need a pentagon shape if you want to make a bowl the size I'm making. Yeah, find just an online pentagon shape that you can print out and cut out or trace from your screen, and then yeah, you can use that as the base. And what I've done is just got some scraps of this more sort of thick, coarse industrial style felt and just cut around my Epiflex template shapes, because I'm actually going to be leaving this felt inside the fabric to give it a nice sort of strength and stability, so the bowl sort of has a bit of structure when it's sitting up. I don't want a floppy bowl, I want a sturdy bowl. So I just cut around it like that, as close to the template as possible. Make sure it's pretty good, which you can. You can even just put it against one of your other ones and just make sure your template looks good. But yep, that's great, and it's been a great use for these little corner pieces. I was almost thinking, oh, do I throw them out? But I thought, no, I might find a use for those. So as simple as that to get your little template. So yeah, find what size you want to work with, print it out, and then cut out some bits of felt, and you could use whatever felt you want. Something with a bit of stiffness is handy just when you're folding your fabric around it. So we need a total of 12 pentagons. So that's 6 there. 4. Got that one cut out already, so I don't need this one that I've cut out, but we can keep that for another application. And then I need to grab my fabric, and I'll just show you how I cut around it to create a little seam that you can use for folding. So I think I was going to try and capture this one from the fabric. So what I do is that's going to be the sort of the bottom. So I want to capture this little shape here, put my pentagon over, and then cut a decent seam or area around it. It's good to use nice fabric scissors here, so you get a nice clean cut. Okay. Then I grab my Yoo-hoo glue, but you can use a proper English paper piecing glue if you so desire. But Yoo-hoo glue, affordable, and for me works great with fabric. So I just run it around the outside. I have got my little tissue, not my tissue, my wet, damp face washer here. Can't actually see where I put it now after bringing it in. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. It has fallen out of the way. It's over there. So just in case I get sticky fingers from the glue for when we get to the stitching stage, it's nice not to have sticky gluey fingers. And I try and not use disposable hand wipes. Do my bit for the environment. Face washer can just be washed again and dried and then reused in the craft room. So at this point, when I've folded in the edges, I get my warm iron. So having a warm iron next to you is a good thing. And I just iron over to get a good sort of creasing and hold them in place. We'll do the same on this one, which I had already cut out. I think this will probably be the underneath piece because it's not a particularly exciting bit of the design. The rest are all sort of fussy cut around characters. Well, not fussy cut, but framing around characters. I think fussy cutting is when you go right in close to cut around them. So this is my first time making it, but I've adapted it from the pattern that I am following is the one on the Epiflex website. It's just a free pattern that they have because they are obviously promoting their Epiflex templates. And in theirs, you're actually using their templates in it. I've just used the template to cut the felt because I wanted to have that structure. And in their pattern, they actually sew each of the inside bowl and the outside bowl separately and then stitch it together. I'm going to follow a bit of a different method. And I've also seen Susie Q recently. So Susie Q Makes, I think she's got makes in her name, Susie Q. She's been making some of these, but I think she uses a hexagon in her middle, whereas this pattern that I'm taking as inspiration uses the pentagon in the middle. So lots of different versions, and she's got a different method for putting it together than what I'm going to follow. And I don't think she's using the I think she suggests you could use some sort of interfacing, but I'm just using the felt and wrapping around the felt where she has the papers in there. So good that we can all share different methods. So that is all 12 of them. I am just going to give my hands a clean. Just pop that. Where can I pop that out of the way? Over here, perhaps. Okay, get rid of the bits of felt. We'll need to clean my little ironing board soon because it is getting a bit of Yoo-hoo glue on it, but I think I could just pop the whole cover in the wash at some point. I think the next step, and as I say, this is experimental, is to work out which one's going to be on the bottom of the bowl, which I think will be that one. And then I was thinking I'll put the little bee in the, so that will be the underside of the bowl and the bottom of the bowl. And then I just need to pair up other pieces to be the outside and inside. So I'll just have a look how they look. Good to get a bit of variety in the characters. So that one's on the inside, so I can put that one on the outside because that's a duplicate one. And then that one. So that one's a duplicate as well, so that can go on the outside. And then that one and that one, I think, and I think I'll have the little mother and child on the inside. So it's going to come together, and I should move it up so you can see, so I'm not off screen. That is going to be how our bowl comes together, and we'll be actually stitching them so they will sit up like that. But I think in my method, I'm going to first of all stitch the back and the front together with a ladder stitch. So I've just got some regular cotton. It's Saturday afternoon here when I'm filming this. Had a busy morning poor Alex, his big TV that he watches of an evening. I'm in my craft room of an evening watching my little iPad, which doesn't worry me, but his big TV died last night, so he went to turn it on in the evening and it just had a sort of a slight glow to it, but it had given up the ghost. So I think he's had it about 13 years, so that's probably a good innings for technology. But we both have a theory that the technology companies just kind of build in this failing so that it does make us go out and buy new things. It'd be good if we could actually fix things and give them longer life, because it's a massive amount of e-waste, I guess, to be going into landfill. That makes me sad to think of that. But anyway, he had to go out shopping today because he feels very lost without his big TV. He doesn't have a craft that he does in the evening, so his TV is his entertainment. So he went out today and went shopping to find a replacement, and I took Travis down to my house because I'm still sorting things out there, but can't really do that much with Travis. He gets a bit restless there, doesn't kind of understand the purpose of it. But we visited my parents, and they've got their dog Lucy. Dad's just had a cataract operation on his eyes. Thanks for those that gave the earlier a number of probably a few months ago now, when Dad had the reaction to the shingles vaccine. Thankfully the Bell's palsy that he got in his face all improved and got better. So that's meant he's been able to schedule in his cataract operation, and that went really well. He's had no discomfort at all, didn't even need painkillers after it. Just has to wear a patch on the eye at night just to make sure he doesn't scratch it or anything. So that what I'm doing up the sides while I'm gas bagging away to you is doing a ladder stitch, which I'll explain as we go up the next side. And when you get to an end, you sort of give it a bit of a tightening, and that just helps to make the stitch go invisible. So with a ladder stitch, you are going to run it along the sort of seam for a short distance. So I'm actually taking it along the edge there and poking it out, and then I'm going over to the other piece and taking it along the edge, inside the edge there, a short distance forward. So it's going directly across. So that's essentially the rung of the ladder. And at the moment you can see the rung sitting across there, but when you pull the thread, when you get to the end of each row, it actually tightens it up and makes it almost invisible. So it's what I usually use on my English paper piecing. You could, of course, do a more visible stitch like a whip stitch or something, and that would be absolutely fine also. I just put a little one in at that end. So as you can see, they're quite visible there, but as I pull them, it goes wonderfully, just makes it a really cohesive little seam there. So you want a decently strong thread. I think this is a polyester one, which is generally stronger than the cottons. Yeah, so it's good that Dad's op went well. He's at the end of this month, he's got to go in for a hernia op. So, but then he'll be done on his ops, I think, which is good. This getting old thing, it ain't fun, is it? But better than the alternative, hey? So I know everyone's getting very excited about the next project for the second half of the year from Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. We've all got ideas whirring for the nature diary, nature journal. We went for a lovely walk after lunch. So after Alex had done his TV stuff, I'd visited my parents. I took Travis to the dog park down near my house, took him to the park near Mum and Dad's house. So he'd had a very good morning. And then he'd slept the entire way home in the car, just about a 45-minute trip. And then, after lunch, Alex and I took Travis out to a lovely dog park reserve up in the Dandenong Ranges, and I found some amazing fungi. So fungi and mosses and lichens. So I might even add some images, some photos in at the end of this video, depending how long it is. probably won't make you watch me stitch around each of these actually, so it's probably going to be one that I don't do an entire run of videoing. I'll show you each of the stages, but not bore you to tears. Don't want to do that. But just want to give you enough confidence that you can have a go at making one of these. And given it's a project where you can very much use a printable out pentagon template, or one that you trace, as I say, you can trace off your screen. And I'm sure there'll be free ones online. Or if you have a pentagon template already in your English paper piecing supplies, if you have those, you can just cut out some pieces of felt. Or you could do this without doing the felt, but then you'd have to be putting them around a paper template. Whereas the felt's performing sort of two purposes. It's being our template, but also, strengthening. So I'm just giving it a pull again, and as you can see, you get that lovely disappearing of your little ladder stitches, and this is now a very cohesive little bit. It's got a lovely sort of, stiffness to it, but still movability, but it's going to hold really well. So when I get round, all I do is put a stitch in, make sure it's nice and tight. Then I might do another little one just coming underneath just to drag that stitch sort of into the interior. And I'll just tie this one off as well. My thread's trying to catch for some reason, not sure why. And then I'll just secrete the end into the piece. Just let that end sort of pop back in. So yeah, that will be lovely. Now, these two, were they together? I think they were. And so just making sure that the sort of the bottom of each lines up, which I've done there. Just move these ones out of the way. So I'll do another one with you, and then we can actually stitch those two together, I think, next up. Actually, I might do the base, because I think actually I'll start by stitching them all onto the base, actually. That's what I'm going to do. So this is my little bottom piece, as it were. And I've put my least exciting piece on the very bottom. You wouldn't have to do ones with pictures. I just think it's a fun little way to sort of celebrate a interesting fabric. So again, just going to do the ladder stitch. I mean, it actually doesn't take too long. We will see. We'll see if we can get it done. Alex has taken Travis down to visit his mum and dad. It's just nice for them to have some time, and also just gives me some quiet time too. So I'll see what time they get home. Travis is always keen to see me when he gets back. And I'm sure Alex too. But you always know with a dog, they're always very, they show their excitement to see you. As humans, we get a bit used to ourselves, don't we? So we sometimes take things for granted, which we shouldn't. Yeah, we'll have to see what the weather's like tomorrow, but I think Alex, has the delivery of the TV coming tomorrow, so we won't be doing probably won't do a morning day trip, but we'll see if the weather's okay and we'll do something in the afternoon. There's a lovely walk at a place called Birdlands. We were actually talking to someone at the dog park about that today, so we might go there. Last time we went there it was summer, and it was it's quite a long walk, and I think Travis, even though it has a place where dogs can swim, I think he found it a bit warm. He was flagging a bit towards the end. Being a black Labrador, he doesn't do so well with the Australian summer. I've been hearing from UK folks that you've got it quite warm over there at the moment, quite warm, humid, I think. Although Annie was also saying you've had days when it's gone really cold also, so I suppose that's the way. Changeability of weather. It's getting darker outside now, so hopefully I'm not getting too much shadow. I do have my desk lights on. It's annoying when the thread wants to do a little tangling. I'm just going to tighten that. I mean, it doesn't really matter because these are going to be actually enclosed, so even if they were a bit looser, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but the ladder stitch does work well with the tightening effect. So I might have to make a nesting set of bowls where, yeah, they're different sizes. I think I've only got the one size Epiflex template, but I can definitely follow my own suggestion and find some other sized ones online. So we've got a month for the Roxy project as usual for the prompt. But I've got my other one, which I shared a video on last night, which I'm very excited about, continuing with my Colour Inspirations journal panel that I'd created with Annie Claxton's project earlier in the year. And I'd always wanted to turn it into a fabric container. It had just got sat in my to-do bowl while other projects were being done. And it's funny because, as I say, this fabric was also sitting in my to-do because I had been wanting to use it for a fabric bowl as well when I got the pentagon templates. So I do feel like the Roxy projects kind of, yeah, they end up taking me places where I've been wanting to do something because I have been wanting to do a naturey journal type sort of thing. So, yeah, really, really excited. There hasn't been a Roxy project so far that I haven't loved. I think because I do like to just have that little prompt that then sends me off on a fun adventure. So what I can do is I'm just thinking, I might put that one because it almost looks like the leaf then is continuing down there. So if I want to put this one and this one together, I'll do the same process of the ladder stitch, although I'll only I think I'll do it along the outside of one over here. I think I can hear Alex and Travis getting home. Garage doors going up. Makes quite a buzzing sound, even though I'm upstairs. So yeah, I'm going in the outer seam of each side, still using the ladder stitch. We'll see how it goes because it is quite a thickness at this point. We shall see. So I've done those two. And then let's see how we go if we pull tight with the ladder. That is very neat actually. That is great. So that's how inside, isn't it? Probably just need to slightly line up my ends. Slightly minky. Slightly doolady. Used to work with a girl that said doolady. I think it's is that a British term? Doolally maybe. Doolally. I'm sure she used to say doolady as well. So again, let's just give it a nice tighten up. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay. So I might, I'll just put a knot in here because it is good to kind of knot off and tighten off after each sort of run of things, just to help keep it tight, rather than stitching on and it might get a bit loose and you might lose that tightening up where you've done your ladder stitch. No, I think that's finishing up really beautifully, coming together great. So yeah, I think this method is going to work. I do think things through my head before I try them. While I was working on my little cutting everything out, I was just thinking, what's the best method for this particular adapted method that I'm using. Okay, so next one we can do is this one here. Sometimes it might be good not to use the same cotton that you've been kind of pulling too much, but so far this seems to still be holding up. But yeah, you probably don't need a super length of cotton when you start. So I'll just hide the end inside between my pentagons. I'll tuck the end in, and then we'll start the process of the ladder stitching again. As I say, because these are going to then be stitched together, it doesn't really, we don't have to do super small stitches. It's just to get the two sides here holding together, probably along the top where it is, although I have been thinking I might put a little fabric blanket stitch along the top, or a plaited sort of piece of thread couched down. But I'll see how it looks. It might even look nice just, yeah, with the edges as they are. I'll give you some options. Options are good, aren't they? So yeah, on the top I'm doing some slightly smaller stitches than I do on the side, because the tops won't have any further stitching together. The tops being these two sides here. But yeah, if you were using a fabric that just had a pattern, you wouldn't have to worry kind of which direction it's sitting, but because I've got the little figures, I want them to be sitting in a good direction. It's pretty good. I probably need to just go back and do maybe one more little stitch in here. So with the ladder stitch, you can work backwards once if there's somewhere that's kind of missing a stitch. Oops. So yeah, that's better. I can just tighten that up, and then that's all beautifully seamed together. It's quite nice to stitch with the felt. It's not hard to, and because we're not really going through the felt here, we're just going through the seams, but it's, yeah, holding nice and sturdy feeling, which is good. And the fabric, I guess if you used a really thin and fragile fabric, it might be harder on the seams, but this is quite a robust fabric, so it's good for that as well. If it was like a really flimsy fabric, it might be trickier. Again, just tightening up our ladder stitch so it comes together beautifully. So there are our two top sides, and they're nicely holding together. And then down this side I can just do slightly larger, slightly longer ladder stitches, because these sides will get stitched on to another piece, so it doesn't matter as much. And likewise along the bottom, that's going to be stitched onto the bottom piece, so we can do slightly longer stitches. There we go. Okay, so that one can now be stitched onto the bottom. Was I having that way? I think I was. They're both cute. I guess you'll see both when you're looking at the inside or the outside of the bowl. So again, I will actually, let me just put a little holding knot in place there so we keep the tightness of what we did around there. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to do my ladder stitch on the outside seam pieces of each pentagon. Keep wanting to say hexagon, pentagon. It's really good to be, making use of these templates, because as I say, I bought them particularly with the idea of doing a bowl. After seeing the free pattern on the Epiflex website, which again, not affiliated with, just love their products. Even though, as I say, not using the sort of the benefit of just using it as a template to cut out my felt templates, but that's fine as well. So that's how the bowl is ultimately going to come together. We'll be stitching each of these, and so it will come up from a little flower design up into our little bowl. So I think that's going to be great. But I'm not going to stitch the pieces together just yet. I'll do those final stitching the V pieces together once I've got all my little petals on the flower, as it were. So let me just put an extra stitch in here, and I do wonder if I need to just do maybe one more ladder stitch down here. Oops, a bit loose, or is it just that it's loosening up on the... Oops, and my thread's trying to unthread itself. I think that's tight enough, actually. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I'm just going to put an anchoring knot in. I can always come back and, with more stitches, but I'm sure once it's all together anyway like that, it's going to hold pretty securely. So I'm back now, and I have proceeded to stitch around and add on each of the petal pieces to my base piece. And I've still got my thread attached. I've just done a little knotting stitch there to hold that secure. So we're now ready to start stitching our sides together to make our little bowl. So all I'm going to do, and the great thing with the felt is that it bends just like when you are using the actual Epiflex molds. They're made to bend in the center as well, because they've got these little sort of lines built into them. So the felt's operating in a similar way to how they actually work as well. So we've had our dinner. Had a little cuddle with Travis on the couch, but without the TV going, because the new TV doesn't arrive till tomorrow. And then I thought I'd come up and finish off this video for you. Probably won't post it till tomorrow night. I don't want to inundate you with daily videos, because there's lots of lovely people to watch on YouTube, so it's nice to create some space for everybody. Been happy to see some of my YouTubey stitchy friends. Some have been offline for a little while, and they've come back and been doing videos. Just always happy when I've got another creative stitchy friend to watch. I was watching, in fact I'm halfway through it, watching Leanne while I was doing the stitching around on these ones, make an amazing, Leanne from Leanne's Crafty Cupboard, finish off her amazing little teddy bear called Wilbur, which is very sweet. When I used to regularly work in the office and had a guide dog called Merlin, a guide dog in training called Merlin with me, she used to come across with me to visit a colleague in another dog-friendly building, which had a lovely chocolate-coloured Labrador called Wilbur. So when I saw that Leanne had called her teddy bear Wilbur, it kind of, and it's a beautiful brown teddy bear, it did bring back thoughts of Wilbur the Labrador. And it used to, make everyone's day when the two of them were, Merlin was a Goldador, so a Golden Retriever and Labrador cross. And they used to have lovely plays together. So again, I've just used the ladder stitch, and I'm just going to do my sort of anchoring knot at the top, just to make that stay nice and tight. Oops, and I've managed to break my thread, so I might just get a fresh piece of thread because maybe I've done too much pulling on that thread, and then I think I will just put a few extra little stitches in place in case where the thread broke it wasn't fully anchored. The good thing is it's something you can always come back and add more stitches if you actually needed to. I show you the good, the bad, the ugly. Because it can happen, and there's always ways around. When something happens, it just requires a different design choice next. So I'll just try and secrete my little knotty end into the gap, which has worked pretty well. And then I'll put a couple of little stitches over the top, including another knot in. I'll cut off this little endy taily bit where the thread broke, and then I might just do a couple of tiny little whip stitches just to take the pressure off if the thread is partially broken at the top. And I've managed to unthread my needle, but that's okay. It's the good, the bad, the ugly. Oops, almost tied a knot in my thread as well. I have actually, around the needle. Goodness gracious, Christine. Okay. Path of least resistance. Slightly shorter thread, but that's okay. We'll just get another bit of thread when we need it. I'll just finish this off here and put in just a couple of extra little stitches just to be sure that this is all properly anchored. I might even just run down, just so that we are sure, I'll just run down and put a few more little ladder stitches in. And yeah, it was interesting because Leanne was using ladder stitch in her teddy bear as well, her tiny little miniature. Such patience. It's actually quite good going down again because it just gives it an extra strength on the join. And then I'll just pull that tight down there as well, but not so tight that I break the thread. And then I'll tie it off with a second notch. Okay, now we can do the next one. I will use a fresh piece of thread just to avoid that risk of having breaking. I suppose it can always happen. My threads, a lot of them are vintage threads, so they might weaken over time. I know some people say I only ever use new threads, but I like to use second-hand things because then you're saving them from landfill. If they're still pretty functional, then I'll give them a go. If it was failing all the time, I would probably say, yeah, maybe it's not for this particular purpose. Actually, this could be even a newer one, not sure. Okay, so I'll hide my little knot down here. Just let that sit in there. And then again, I can put my two edges together. Oops, where's my... Oh, where am I actually working on? I am over there. It's just my thread didn't go where I thought it was actually going to be. Right, thread here. Two edges together. And yeah, here I'll just try and do slightly smaller stitches. Just to give it a really good join. Again, I'm doing generally the stitches on the outer outer seam. But because the two seams are joined together anyway, it doesn't matter too much. But this way I think it will pull the pieces together quite nicely. So again, just going parallel across to create your little ladder stitches, and then just popping up a little bit up the seam and then going parallel across. I haven't caught up with the news tonight. I heard that Michael Mosley, the intermittent fasting and other sort of healthy eating guru, had gone missing on an island in Greece. But it sounds like he'd made it back to the town where they were staying, which is really strange that he got back there and has just sort of disappeared. But hopefully he might be found. I always think that would be the worst thing, not knowing where someone is. Just seems so strange. I suppose it happens a lot and we only really hear about it maybe when it's famous people or where there are appeals for help with searching. It's going to be such a cute little bowl. I'm really, really glad I did this, and I can see maybe making even little ones for the Christmas table could be nice. I'm even thinking how you can maybe possibly build them up and out, although I guess you want them to still be quite secure and not toppling over. Anyway, I'll focus on one thing at a time, Christine. Don't get excited with new plans and new ideas. That's what always happens when I'm stitching. My mind just goes into creative overdrive. Something about using your hands makes you really, really sort of think. So I'll do one more knot, and then I might pass my needle over to the next edge. And when I say pass over, what I'll do is feed it along the inside here, but I will need something to help me sort of push it through, push it against the board. There we go, and then I'll pass it over this way. So that one was quite easy to push through because I'm just within the seam really. And then I will hold these two edges against each other, and I'll go from top to bottom. I think that will still work fine. Again, I'll start with a nice little anchoring knot stitch to just create a secure sort of starting point to work from. It's good to do that sort of at your corners, etc., as you work around. Also, that way if your thread broke or something, it's not like you have to go back and do everything if you've been anchoring it along the way. Oops, I should have pulled the end. Hopefully I'll be able to get the end through. Otherwise I might have to do it double weight. That should be okay anyway if I do double weight. So yeah, I'll try and remember to put some photos from our outing to the Dandenong Ranges today, where we saw amazing fungi and lichens. If you're watching this, you might be thinking about the next Roxy Journal of Stitchery project and where you can find inspiration. I thought I'll just start collecting up photos. I always tend to take photos anyway, but start collecting up photos that could be inspiration for things I might want to include in my nature journal, because I would like to do a sort of a Australian Victorian inspired one, I think, rather than like a UK, I know we're taking sort of the Diary of an Edwardian Woman, the Edith Holden, as sort of an inspiration for the project, but I'd like to do something that's local to here. I think that would be nice. It'd be great to base it on things I've actually seen. And they were talking about birds on the radio as well this today when I was driving, and what was being spotted in the local wetlands and things. So I thought I might jot down those references as well and have some birds to include. Because by the time we start it, we'll be well and truly we'll be in winter, but it'd be nice to have some autumn, late autumn, early winter references. Okay, so I'm down to the bottom, and again I'll just I'll give it a good tighten up, which I think it's pretty tight. And yeah, not a bad idea using the double thread actually, probably gives it a bit of extra strength. And I'll just do a second little notch. Just want to make sure those do actually knot okay. And then I'll secrete it into the fabric and get a new piece of thread, I think. Just use the board to help me push my needle through. Maybe use my Yoo-hoo glue, push. There we go. And then I'll cut off the ends and let them spring back into the fabric. Okay, let's keep going, get another piece of thread. I've got my iron on a little stand next to the desk because I've been using it a fair bit when I've been doing these English paper piecing techniques, but it almost operates like a little heater when it's on. It keeps you nice and warm because it's facing the desk. And it is a cool evening, and I've turned my heater off up here so that it doesn't make weird noises in the video. But yeah, the iron's doing a good little job. Now, did that actually form a decent knot, or is it a weird knot? Just want a knot that I can trim off. It's a bit of a loopy knot, but that's okay. I'll secrete that inside, I think. Through from the back. I'll just catch that little loop and put it in as well. Oops. So this would be a great little small project if you don't want to do a big bowl. You want something quick to do, but could definitely be expanded to larger size as well, just by using bigger pentagons. Which is always good to have an adaptive project. Sorry, I've just gone quiet. I've just gone into it's my raging Saturday night here, isn't it? But you know what? I wouldn't swap it for anything. Especially in a week where I've done a lot of, because we had our executive off-site and 2 whole days all together working away. It's nice to have some me time. A couple of those stitches down the bottom just don't seem that tight. I'm wondering why they're not tightening up in the way that they normally do. Unless any of them got caught. I just don't want to break my thread, but that's pretty good, I think. Yeah, that looks good. So I'll just do a little anchoring knot. Hopefully you're stitching away on a project, or you might be following along with this project. So hopefully it's not boring you to tears. I suppose you can always fast forward through. I know for some people you like to see the full process, so most of the process. If I am doing something really repetitive, I'll usually edit it out. But sometimes I enjoy the videos where it is a bit repetitive, because then I can just, be stitching away, listening to the chatter. It's quite good. So this is the final side, and I thought it might be quite hard to line it up, but no, it is working a treat. So let me do my little starting anchoring stitch. So I've got something solid to kind of pull against when we get to the bottom. Just do another one, just to be sure. Hopefully I'm staying on screen. It's funny when you're doing the ladder stitch, it looks like no, that will definitely be very obvious as stitches, but once you do that pulling, it works really well. Okay, let's make the magic happen. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, before we get carried away and look at the bowl, let's just get our final little anchoring stitch in down the bottom. Just give it a good pull first, make sure it's tight. Knot in and another knot, just for certainty. So I'm just going through both bits of fabric as I do this knot. I do need to pull the tail, hang on, just need to get the tail through and then I'll do that again. Okay. Oops, and I've managed to, but I think the knot is holding there. Yes, it is, so that's okay. I'm going to take that as I meant to be. And there we go. That is our very sweet little bowl. Sorry, the cushion's trying to creak and slip off my chair. I've just got one of those, a rather oversized chair cushion that sits on a smaller chair. Got this little base. And then I just love how these have got a slightly concave, because they get kind of, pulled together. It just gives them a really lovely feel. Now, I think this is going to be a fabulous little place to keep things like when I'm working, my little quilt clips. Be very useful for those. Let's see what else might sit well in there. I think even if you're working with a bit of thread, you could sit that in there. Would work really well for these. Oops, I've got a little random rose that's still sitting around since my house project. Would work fabulously for a piece of thread. Now, in terms of other ideas, I was wondering whether I wanted to put a bit of this around the top of it. I don't think it needs it, but just in terms of giving you options, I was wondering if I'd want to just couch it down as like a very simple braid and almost have it sitting just between the two little seam pieces. So let's see how that goes, just to give some options. Or you could do, a blanket stitch, which is I think what Susie Q was doing, but maybe she was just doing that around the base. I can't remember now. So I've got some green cotton that pretty much matches that. I don't even know what this is. This was, again, something secondhand. It says made in France, Paris, but it doesn't have a brand on it apart from Colourfast Grande Tent, and then 502. So not sure what this thicker thread is, or perle thread. Not sure what brand. Sometimes that's the thing with when you get vintage bundles of goodies, you don't know exactly what it is, and you probably wouldn't be able to necessarily buy it again if you wanted to. So I might just leave my little end of the thread I'm going to use to couch down. I'll leave that secreted down the bottom. I'll get rid of my little tail. Just let that sit down the bottom there, and I'll sort of pull it in, which will mean that it'll sit into the seam. And then I do wonder if I can also have this come through the fabric. Let me show you what I mean. Again, I wonder if I can just secrete the end in rather than actually have the end tied. So I'm just wondering, can I leave the end sitting inside and start it off? I think I can do that. Right. Now, maybe I don't need to couch it down straight away. Maybe I can work my way around and actually stitch it in at each of the folds. Thinking on the go here, trying it out. We shall see if we like it. If we don't, it's not the end of the world. So I might not even have to do that much couching, but I might do a little bit of couching. Oops, that one's not sitting where I'd want it to be, so I think because of the way I stitched it in, I need to keep it more central. So let me just unthread that stitch and try that one again. So here, maybe I just need to keep it in the center like I did on the first one, just like that. That's better. And then up to the top and just put a tiny little passing nick in. And then again, keep it in the center down here, which just feels a bit harder because it feels like the center's not totally lined up there. I'm sure it'll be fine. I do like how it looks, so it just adds a nice extra little bit of special detailing. It does almost look like a little braid on it, even though it's just a thread. And it does add that little slow stitchy element, which is good. I mean, I think hexies, and I know English paper piecing, some people might go, no, that's not slow stitch. To me it is. When you're not doing it sort of to make a quilt, I'm doing it to make a little object that you hand stitch. I think it is. I think slow stitch can be whatever you want to conceive it to be. There's no slow stitch police in my world. Wow, I'm already around. I thought that would take much longer. I think it would have if I was actually having to couch it all down, but I will show you what I mean by the couching, because it will just help to probably secure it a tiny bit. So what I'll do here is just take it back down into the fabric, I think. And then at the very bottom, I will pull it a tiny bit tighter and then let it spring back into the fabric. Put that to the side. I'll get my little thread that I'm going to use for the couching. And for the couching, I was thinking it would just be a matter of putting some tiny stitches along to just hold the thread in place. So it's almost now wrapping unwrapping the thread. I'm sort of doing it on the diagonal, so it's the couching thread's got a noticeableness to it, but not. Or I could just do much more invisible stitches. What do I want to do? No, I don't mind that. I don't mind that, just adding a little, almost like a little whipping look to it. Don't mind that at all. I'll pass it over here. Just taking tiny little nibbles to wrap and hold that couching, or hold that couched thread in place. Or really couching that thread in place, because that's what we're doing. Often you can do couching where you can't even pass the thread, the one that you're attaching to the surface, through the fabric. And just use these stitches to hold it in place. In this case, we've kind of used a hybrid method because it could actually pass through the fabric. But then we're just using these stitches to hold it in place where it's a bit looser. And you could do even like decorative little loop stitches, blanket stitches, as I said. You wouldn't even have to put anything along. You could put little baubles. If you had little gum nuts, they'd be really cute hanging off. I guess you wouldn't want anything too heavy that would make your bowl fall over. That would be the only consideration, I think. After this I'll do a little bit of craft room sorting away, given I finished my slow stitch box and my slow stitch caddy, so I can pop those bits and pieces back away in the drawers. And who knows, I might start to, as I pop things away, if I see things that might be good for the nature journal project, I might start to pull some things out. We're a very excitable bunch, aren't we? Just a mere whiff of a new project and we're off and running. Yeah, I think that looks really nice. So I'll keep going around. Sorry if I was going off camera then. Yeah, I like this extra little detail on top. It's very sweet. And the colour goes so well with the piece. Okay. Almost round. We'll just finish it off together because we have done so much together. So let me know in the comments if you're going to make one of these. It's a great little, afternoon project, or sort of it's something you could probably work on in front of the TV as long as you have a bit of light. Certainly you could cover your little felt pieces in front of the TV, although it does help to iron them down as you go. And the final stretch. thread was about to knot then. I was like, that would be so cruel. It's quite thick at the end. So let's do a final little stitch through. I think it might be nice just to also give it a bit of reinforcing. And then I'll put a little anchoring knot in. Knot is important here because these couching stitches can be that bit looser. It's not like we're trying to hold the pieces together. And then I'll feed my thread back down into the fabric, pop it out, pull it through, pull it an extra bit tighter, and then that way it will, when I cut it off, it will leap back into the fabric. So there we go. That is my very, I think, very sweet little snuggle pot and cuddle pie pentagon bowl. I can see myself making many more of those in the future. Yeah, I think they're going to be incredibly useful even for things like holding your pentagon templates. In fact, that's the perfect little, maybe I will have to make bowls that hold in my bag rather than having to put them back in their little zipper plastic cases. I could have a little pentagon holder, because I'm going to be using my slow stitch box for that. My little house box is where I'm going to keep all my Epiflex and other templates. So there you go. Have fun, and yeah, let me know if you're going to make one of these. Take care, everyone, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.